our next speaker, let's bring her on board, is Sheetal, founder and partner of Soho Ventures.
Hello, Bhavik.
There we go.
Hi.
Yep, see you now. Yep, perfect.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes. Let's hear your story about how your journey began and where you are now.
Great, Bhavik. Sorry about that. Gosh. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to Randy for that really impressive and wonderful presentation and life experience. So I'm Sheetal Walsh. Thank you, all of you, for having me here today. I want to share with you my journey, and I think it's important because it explains, my trials and tribulations and tales all sort of contribute to why I got to where I got to and why I'm now a venture capitalist. So just very quickly, I want to let you know I came to Canada from Uganda as refugees. We came in 1972. And it was a really interesting time because obviously our parents, had to work very hard for us in Canada and position themselves to give us opportunities, etc. And so I was very grateful to make Canada my home. However, I left Canada in '94 after graduating from my undergrad to go to LSE in the UK, and I haven't been back for 25 years. So I'm so excited that Vancouver has been my first home after 25 years and returning back to Canada, and especially to have the gracious hospitality of this community has just been amazing. So what I want to share with you is some of the stories that I've experienced in this last 20 years, 25 years, of which I've spent the majority of my work in tech and VC. I started my career after my degree, my master's at London School of Economics. I went to Dubai, and I know Kukai and the others were talking about being the first female. I was actually in investment banking, and I opened the Westdeutsche Landesbank's office in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates back in 1995, 96, when there were very few women at all in investment banking, let alone German investment banking in the Middle East. So it was quite a great character building experience. I then moved to California, and so I have lots of sharings as Randy did as well regarding being in the Silicon Valley. And what I did there is I joined Microsoft in 2000. It was a very interesting time, and I joined what was called the .com team, the .NET Technologies team, and I was an evangelist for .NET. And I went to Bill one day. It was a very flat company then, and I went to him one day and I said, you've got all these VCs who call you on the phone and they want to do deals with you from the VC side, but this isn't actually scalable because, we have to have product group discussions, and there's a whole process behind collaborating and syndicating it, especially with the VCs. So I said to him, Bill, can I please have the opportunity to create a venture capital strategy for Microsoft? And he said, yes. So I implemented a strategy, brought all the VCs in the Silicon Valley together, sponsored a few Pebble Beach golf course events, etc. Had a really interesting experience. And the whole point of that business model was to really make sure that startups could have a talking stick, somebody within Microsoft who was going to represent them, and then also bring the VCs together for a potential collaboration. So it was a really exciting time for me. In 2003, I realized, I wanted to go back to the UK. And I said, Bill, who's doing this in the UK or in EMEA? Of course, nobody was. And I found some really great mentors and people to work with who championed this vision of bringing the venture capital strategy to EMEA, based out of London. And it was a very successful opportunity and quite an honor to serve within Microsoft. While I was there, I also spent quite a lot of time in across Africa, setting up telecenters for farmers so that they could access internet, etc. So I'm telling you these stories because they all contribute to my thesis for my investment thesis to date. Microsoft was a great learning opportunity, got lots of amazing exposure to very incredible technologies and founders. And I was appointed in 2006 to be a deal maker for the British government's Global Entrepreneur Program. And there I worked with over 900 companies to bring them into the UK. These are all startups who, took the plunge and said, we're just going to go for this idea to relocate in the UK and leverage it as a platform to then go global from. I helped raise £1 billion in funding for several of those 900 companies. And what was interesting about that is that I ended up teaching masterclasses around the world, from Latin America to North America to all kinds of places. And so what I'm getting at there is that I was really blessed to have an opportunity to be founder friendly and to work with founders from around the world, who really are global in terms of their, not only their deliverables, but in their outlook. So that's been quite an honor. I want you, I don't have a deck and I don't have any visuals for you, but I'd like you to, if you, all you listeners, I'd love you to close your eyes for a second, and picture this visual if you can, because this is my next sort of trajectory in my journey, which is Shanti life. Imagine you are a woman living in India, in rural India, and you have no toilet, and it's nighttime, and the only time you can go to the bathroom is in the middle of the night when no one can see you because you need privacy. And you need to walk like 5 or 6 miles because there's lots of dodgy guys around, and you just don't want anyone to see you because it's not very nice. And so you find a place, you go to the bathroom, and then it's super dark and you're actually really scared to walk home. And it's really difficult for you. And you're thinking, gosh, I'm scared to go home now. It's dark. I'm lost. How am I going to get back safely? All of these things are in your mind. And you're also the breadwinner of your family. And you're also not feeling well because you haven't gone to the bathroom for about 8 or 9 hours. Imagine if you're in this situation and you have to go home in the middle of the night. So if you've not had a good sleep, you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to try and run your small business so that you can look after your family. So this was the next journey in my career, which was Shanti Life. I set up Shanti Life. It's a Canadian not-for-profit who's focused on bringing together business skills and not-for-profit ideas to be able to create a social enterprise. And what we did there was we created a model to help provide resources for entrepreneurs who are vulnerable in rural India. And I did a TEDx talk on this in 2009 in Alberta. And why I'm passionate about this is that when we talk about the Silicon Valley and we talk about resources and access to capital and, working spaces and all the cool things that we get to do as entrepreneurs, we don't always realize how lucky we are, that we are so entitled and lucky to have, a chance to speak with a Kukai or with a Randy or any of us. It's really quite exciting to have those resources. So Shanti Life was based out of the knowledge and idea that there are resources, and how do we get them to those that are vulnerable? With Shanti Life, we've been able to impact a huge community of people. And because we focused on toilets, we've called it a flush it forward model. So whenever a woman gets a toilet, they pay, it's all through a loan, because giving out toilets, surprise, it doesn't excite anybody. They actually want to feel that they own what they have. And so when we've provided microloans for these wonderful people to build their toilets, when they repaid their loans, it was recycled and recycled and recycled in a pay it forward model. So we call it a flush it forward model. Anyways, what happens after they build a toilet and they're productive and they're able to look after their families, we give them their next loan to set up their small business. So what's really important to me in this whole story and my journey is that, it's great to say, oh, we're in this ecosystem and we've got access to angels and we've got Starbucks, and we want 2 shots and there shouldn't be any foam and all of these kinds of things. We've got entrepreneurs who actually don't have access to any resources, and really empowering them through financial inclusion and literacy is very close to my heart. So it's been a really wonderful journey learning from those women in these rural communities. Alongside starting Shanti Life as a social entrepreneur, I also co-founded MetaCert in 2011, out of the UK. And back to what Randy said, it was an interesting opportunity because we went to the Valley. We left the UK and we moved to the Valley for our startup. Behold the wonderful ecosystem, access to capital, etc., etc. Really exciting times. We did raise funding from some incredible VCs, very smart board members, and we're really grateful for that. I'll tell you the story in a second of how that ended, or is ending, or is going to grow. But the point behind MetaCert is that we were really focused and are focused on online safety. It's a cybersecurity company focused on anti-phishing. I have all the scars of fundraising from the founder side, and also building and pivoting through difficult and challenging times. The exciting piece of that is now I'm back in Canada, and MetaCert has just done a huge turnaround. We've had some really great support from a lot of the community, and we really see that our cybersecurity anti-phishing platform is really going to help. So we're really excited to be back in Canada. Just back to Randy's point, the Valley and the ecosystem there is great for many things, but guess what? If you can't afford healthcare and you don't have the right visa, and it's really difficult to do business. So I'm so happy to be back in Canada. We've got such a wonderful ecosystem across our many provinces, which we really need to celebrate. To Soho Ventures, I started Soho Ventures about a year ago. We are the first all-female-led GP team. It was an accident. We didn't actually mean for that to happen, but I'm proud to say that we have done it. We are a £50 million fund focused on late seed stage, and we're really founder-friendly because we understand how difficult it is to actually access funding from smart investors. We really care about global solutions, and our investment thesis, no surprise, is based on my experiences as an entrepreneur and as a social entrepreneur. And that is, we focus on sustainable technologies as well as socially responsible. On the sustainable side, we care about enterprise, people, and planet. And on the socially responsible side, we really care about access and inclusion, economic participation, and digital safety and identity. And all of those things, of course, have to depend on a diverse team. I really believe that if you're going to have diverse products and diverse consumers, then you really need a diverse team to be able to create that. So it's a really great, interesting team of women of 4, and we're really excited to have this global strategy. What I do want to share with you are sort of 3 learnings that I have as I wrap up, and those are actually, one of them is stay true to what it is that you want to do, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor. I'm Indian. I was supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer. Back in 72 when we came, my mom and dad had a vision for me. They didn't understand for so long what I was doing, but they're just basically happy I'm back in Canada now. Not being a doctor and lawyer has allowed me to do a lot of things and make a huge impact as well. So number 1, stay true to yourselves and true to what you want to do in life to make an impact. The second thing I want to say is timing is everything. If you're a VC fund, if you're an investor, or you've got your own startup, really don't push things at a time that might not be appropriate. Be patient. Be patient and be resilient, but also realize that, excuse me, I need another quick sip of wine. Sorry. Be resilient, be persistent, but be cognizant that everything happens at the right time that it's supposed to. Flubot's happening now, obviously, and that's why MetaCert is in a position to do well. Last quick thing, Bhavik, before I get shut out, is that I want to say, stay true to your values. If you have values about accessibility and social impact and tech for good, then stick with that. And the final thing I want to say is networks and mentors are really, really important. I want to say thanks, a shout out to Randy, because he welcomed me home 2 years ago when I came back to Canada after 25 years. I didn't know a single soul in Vancouver. And I went to an event in Vancouver. It was a Valhalla event. And I saw Randy and I just literally cried with happiness because it's been 25 years since I'd seen him. And so he's just been a really great mentor to me. So thank you, Randy. That's it. Thank you, Bhavik.
Perfect. So thank you for that. So a couple of questions here. The first one is being on the founder side, when you had investors sort of interested in your company and your projects, apart from money, what else would you say is really key to the right investor? What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's networks, Bhavik. I think it's really networks. So mentors and networks are really, really important. Passion is important. All of those things are great. But I do think if you are an entrepreneur, what's really cool, very important to an investor is to make sure you're solving a problem that really exists. Sometimes we entrepreneurs, we get so full of, what is that phrase? You can't see the trees from the forest. We're so deep into it that we actually don't know if it's actually causing a problem or solving a problem. So I think it's really important to make sure you're solving a real life problem. I think that's really key, Bhavik.
Okay, we've got a question here from Connor. How does making a deep technology product like Net differ from other B2B products like regarding revenue building and sales? Would you recommend building tech focused products? That's what it's saying.
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. We focus very much on B2B because we see revenue opportunities. But again, it really needs to depend on what that is. Is it a marketplace? What is your actual offering that you're trying to get out? Your product or service has to find the best channel to reach the right customers. Is that deep tech? Is that a vertical solution? Is it B2C, B2B? You need to decide, and obviously you're going to know the best answer because you know your technology and how to make it reach to the widest community.
So as you were traveling all over the world through these various different parts of your life and country's journey, what's the best piece of advice you received from either a mentor or an investor or a partner that you've worked with?
I think the best advice I ever received was to stay true to my values, Bhavik. And I think we as Canadians, we're really good people. I have to say, we're really good people. And we need to remember what our values are. I think as Canadians, we've got a wonderful identity and we've got an incredible sense of humility. And I think remembering that and carrying that alongside our for-profit plans and to make a difference in the world, I think all of that combined gives us such great ingredients and recipe to build our businesses. So I think we really got to hold on to our Canadian identity and our resilience and the community that we have.
Wonderful. Colin, anything to add that I've missed?
It's just such an inspiring story, Sheetal. What you presented there, it's such an honor to actually hear your story. So I'm extremely grateful for you spending the time with us today and with our audience. I know with the comments in chat here, it's really resonating with your story. So one thing I would just quickly wanted to ask you, because I've heard kind of a consistent answer from the investment side and a bit of ignorance from the founder or entrepreneur, the please fund me side, and that is the relationship building side. You talk about a network, but it really is about building relationships and nurturing those and building what we call your social capital, right? And helping others before helping others before you're asking for something yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs do that. So my question to you is, how long out should entrepreneurs be looking, even if they're looking for some seed money past that bootstrap stage, to be looking at? Is it a week, a month, half a year, a year? What is your thought on that? I'm sure there's not one size fits all, but what are your thoughts on that as far as building relationships? If you need money, when should you expect to actually get that as far as building those relationships?
Great question, Colin. So, they always say when you're looking for money, ask for advice, and vice versa. I think, I've met a lot of amazing entrepreneurs here in Vancouver who have been looking for funding early on, and maybe too early, I think. There are grants available. There are opportunities available without giving away equity where you can actually get some smart funding, which I think is if you can do that, that's wonderful. But I think once you've got a product market fit and you've got a pretty good, strong team and you're solving a problem with, and you've identified who your potential customers are, possible pilots, I think that's a really good time to look for money, because I think someone else brought it up. Sometimes VCs, they say, well, come to us when you're ready. And you're thinking, crying out loud, I'm not going to need you when I'm ready, because then everyone's going to knock on my door, right? So it's a very interesting question that you ask, because at the point that you start taking money, generally you start giving away part of your company. And so it's very important to, when you do that, to pick the right investors. First of all, we had to buy out some of our investors for MetaCert, I'll tell you, and I'm glad we did, because they were happy and we were happy. But at the same time, if you can get some customers and get some traction, that's a really great time to then go out and get some serious funding, because, you know, getting money from an investor is like a marriage, and you're going to be with those people for a long time, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there, and you might not like them. So you want to make sure you pick the investors that you like, and vice versa. And also, back to your question about when to build these relationships, yesterday is the time to build those relationships. I want to just close out by saying my two mentors, or my three mentors right now, four of them, Randy included, are people that I've known for 15 or 20 years, including Heidi Roizen, John Hummer, George Coelho. These are all people who I've known for 20 years, and I'm really blessed to have them. And I would encourage everyone who's listening, you know, don't burn bridges. If you've got people out there that you really want to reach out to, go for it, and then really nurture those relationships, because you never know when you're going to see them again.
That's such a great point. And thank you for your response on that. And it's interesting, your comments about the relationship. I put about half an hour ago, I put in the public chat just that once you have a deal done and investors and a company are moving forward, that the length of that relationship on average lasts longer than the romantic marriage in North America. And that is a fact as far as the numbers. So you're looking at that, you know, 5, 7, even 10-year relationship. So you're so right that to ask how you can help, don't make it all about you. And because you hear that all the time, I'm sure your email boxes are full. People can get a hold of your email on a daily basis, and hopefully, you know, people don't understand that. Entrepreneurs don't understand that, how inundated you are with people thinking that this cold calling, smile and dialing, showing some hustle, that's the way to go. It's like, you know what, form a relationship first, and take it from there. You have ones that now last a lifetime and will continue to do so. That's amazing advice and insight. So thank you for that. It's great.
Thank you, Bhavik. Thank you, Colin.
You're welcome.